Hello again, students. Now that we enter in some data, I want to look at several functions within SPSS. So we just entered age and gender, and let's do some things we already know from our classes. For instance, maybe we want to know the mean, the mode, or the median, or for instance from the variable age. So what should we do? Now in this toolbar there are several options. I'm mostly concerning myself now with analyzing. We go to analyze, descriptive statistics, and for instance let's go to frequencies. And we want to know some frequencies from the variable age. For instance, I already mentioned it. I want to know the mean, the median, the mode. For instance, I want to know the standard deviation, the variance, the range, the minimum, max, and those quartiles we use, for instance, if we want to make a box plot. So let's continue. We can have a chart. Maybe you want a histogram. We already seen this in classes, so just let's generate one. Let's press OK. And what do we see? We get the following output. For instance, the mean of age of those 10 persons in my sample. The mean was a little over 38 years old. The median, so that's 38.5. What was the most? 18. Standard deviation, 19.7. Variance, and everybody knows the relations between variance and standard deviation. 19 squared, or 19.7 squared, is a little over 391. Range, it's just the range within statistics means that's the max minus the minimum. So 81 minus 18 is, yes, 63. So that's the range. Percentiles, so this is the 25th percentile. This is exactly the same as the median. This is the midst of our distribution, and this is the 75th percentile. Frequencies, these were the ages that were represented, and each were same frequency. So our mode here is not of much use, and you see multiple modes exist because all ages only are one time in the data file or one time in our sample, so this mode doesn't mean anything. But SPSS always calculates a mode, and I just shown you how. So another histogram with frequencies, not that complex. Okay, this is one way. I don't want to say this is one way to use SPSS to calculate stuff for you. Another one is that you go to again to descriptive statistics, and you go to descriptives. Again, for instance, for age we want to know something, and what can we do? We click on options, and again the same or almost the same statistics or parameters are in this box, so we can use this to let SPSS do the calculation for us. This is not that difficult. For instance, if you don't want to do it for age, you click it back and you click on gender and click it in the box again of variables, and you click on OK. So these things are very easy, and this is the way to do it. For this first tutorial, we're only going to use this analyze function, then go to descriptive statistics. These two, frequencies and descriptives, are the ones we use. You can use other ones, click other ones, because I want you to play with SPSS to see what other options there are in. But for the exercises within the tutorial, for this first tutorial, you only probably need these two. This is concerning the calculations. Another thing what is in your exercise within this tutorial is you have to transform some variables. And for instance, I don't know for what reason, I want to multiply, for instance, all ages by 5. I have no reason for that now, but just for educational reasons, I just want to multiply all these numbers, those 10 persons, I want to multiply them by 5. You can do this by transform. You want to transform your variable, and then you press compute. Then you go to target variable, and let's call it age underscore 5. What do? We click in age in the box, we click on multiply, and we click on 5, for instance, and we can use several options. Here there are a lot of functions. Maybe you want to use a statistical function, whatever. I chose for a very easy example. I named this new variable I'm going to create age underscore 5, and this is just the multiplication of our variable age times 5. I click on OK, and what do I see? Each new number is 5 times age. So 18 times 5, yes, it's 90. 42 times 5, yes, 210. So this is a way to manipulate or alter your variable, and it's done by transform and compute. Yes, we just seen how. This can be handy if you want to do research and alter your variables. Another thing is to recode your variables, for instance, into different variables. And how do we do this? We go to recode into different variables. And what do we want to recode? For instance, gender. Let's recode it. We give it a name, now not a very, or the gender 2, whatever. We call it gender 2. This will be the new name of our recoding. And we knew from gender that 0 represented man and 1 represented female. Now, if I want to alter that, for instance, in 0, there was a man. I want it now to have the variable, let's say, 7. And 1, this stands for female. I want to alter this in a variable, let's say, 8. Click on OK. Now I'm generating a variable not with 0s and 1s, but with 7 and 8s. So 0 becomes 7 and 1 becomes 8. You click on continue, you click on change name, you click on OK, and what do we see? We have a new variable, gender 2, and what do we see? The 0s are now 7s and the 1s are now 8s. So, and we can, if we want, we can still change this. For instance, here by value labels, 7 was male and 8 was female. I don't know in God's name why I do this, but more in the sense it's just for a exercise, so that you see, oh, I can alter these things, I can alter variables, and this is how to do it. So if you go to transform, recode into a different variable, so what do we see? We generated 2 new variables. We don't want to change our existing variable. The existing variables are still there. We want to recode them in a different variable. So this was one way to do it. Another way to recode is, for instance, that we would say, okay, let's recode gender again. Only if we look now, we can use, for instance, ranges or the highest value. This is going to be one of the questions. I'm not going to do it for you, but more in a sense, if you want to change some variable within ranges, it's possible. Just look here. Okay, I have to stop now because on YouTube I cannot produce videos longer than 10 minutes. I hope this was somewhat helpful. So now you know how to recode several variables, and you know how to analyze them with analyze, descriptives, and frequencies. Very easy. Thank you for your attention.